People, this man pointing with a mouse, this is a man inspire me about 80% exercise. Never exercise harder than 80%. Then you will have a progress and a very good way. And I cannot tell you, he is a very clever guy. He have a own broadcast and he know very much about exercise. I don't know if he into so much bodybuilding, but now I will take up 10 minutes and I will split 10 minutes in 3 times. So you get all the 30 minutes to this conversation so you can learn about Gary Brecka. Here we go.
People know you as a longevity guy, as a biological age kind of guy, but you're also pretty jacked and you're pretty good at staying lean, and you've got some good advice there. Like, what would you say your key sort of golden rules are for staying lean or getting lean, losing fat?
Wow. I would say my golden rules are consistency. Fat is burned slowly over time, not intensely in short periods. And so for me, it's about having just a consistent routine every day. And if you saw my routine, I probably won't be able to hold a candle to you. I mean, we're going to work out after this, and I'm going to be probably face down on your gym floor, and you'll be like, this guy's a biohacker. You're like, oh, my 50th pull-up. But, it's consistency over time. I do steady state cardio every morning, and I also do weight training, minimum of four times a week. But I think that when we look at how some of the laws of how the body, burns energy, glucose first, glycogen next, fats, last, kind of in that order, and that intensity matters, for burning fat, and nutrition matters for burning fat. One of two things that I've seen that have had dramatic impact in when we're trying to take the masses and get them to lose fat, and that is, we borrow Tim Ferriss's 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking, followed by 30 minutes of steady state cardiovascular exercise, which he deserves some credit for. He wrote about it in the 4-Hour Body. Because most people, before they start out on a fat loss routine, don't have any data, right? So they don't know if they're hypoglycemic, they don't know if they're hyperglycemic, which I think those two can be treated very differently. We talked about that as in terms of fasting, narrow feeding windows for people that have really elevated blood sugar, high hemoglobin A1C, and insulin resistance, and wider feeding windows for people that are more hypoglycemic and insulin sensitive. Because, it's more often than not, for some reason, it seems to be more women than men that will come into our clinics and go, Gary, I don't get it. I wake up in the morning fasted. I have a cup of black coffee. I go to Orange Theory for 55 minutes. I go hammer down. And I've been doing that 5 days a week for 3 months, and I haven't lost a single pound. Like, what is going on? I'm not even eating. And I go, well, you're not eating, but your body is. It's just eating you. And so, the three things that I've seen that have been really good for fatty acid metabolism, and especially in people that have stubborn weight loss issues. Number one is getting the data on your glycemic profile, getting the data on whether or not you're insulin resistant, you're insulin sensitive, you have high average blood sugar or low average blood sugar. And that'll determine your feeding window. And secondly, for those people that work out in the fasted state, I've seen a dramatic improvement in their capacity to target fat rather than to just lose weight or be stable by taking amino acids, like a perfect blend of the 8 essential amino acids in a fasted state, and working out in a fasted state, then taking protein powders and having to take all of that caloric intake in to get the amino acids. Because we often forget that if you're taking a whey protein, or even if you're eating a steak or you're eating eggs, you're taking in the whole protein. That whole protein is not what's turning into muscle. That whole protein is being broken down into amino acids, and eventually amino acids being sent up to the muscle to rebuild muscle tissue. And we only think of amino acids as their contribution to building muscle, but amino acids are inside of every living cell in the human body. It's how we build our red blood cells. It's how we build white blood cells. Natural killer cells are made out of amino acids. All of our connective tissue, collagen, is made out of amino acids.
I popped the link down below for Create creatine gummies, 50% off of them. So so I find I don't get the water retention that I.
Working out intensely in a fasted state, in my opinion, you need to take a full spectrum amino acid supplement, something like a Perfect Amino. If you are low glycemic, then I think 30-30-30 is, Tim Ferriss's 30-30-30, and we've seen dramatic fat loss in clients that we put on a 30-30-30 program that are otherwise hypoglycemic.
And so once again, what does the 30-30-30 look like?
30 grams of protein
Okay.
within 30 minutes of waking,
Okay.
followed by 30 minutes of steady state cardio.
Okay. In what time block?
So you're within 30 minutes of waking is when
For the protein, but what about
for the protein?
So all within 30 minutes, including the cardio too?
No, taking the protein within 30 minutes of waking, and then starting your exercise immediately thereafter. Yeah,
Got it.
and I've read a lot of studies that you're still not, that protein is not making it into the blood for 30 to 60 minutes, maybe 40 to 60 minutes anyway. So I don't know that feeding immediately prior to or in this non-existent anabolic window is making any difference. You want the amino acids to be available once the muscle is damaged to repair the muscle. So people that are hypoglycemic or have very sensitive insulin or have low blood sugar, because they're actually starting with low glucose and they're going to immediately get into their glycolic reserve, right? I mean, we know that the muscles retain glycogen and don't contribute it back to the body, and the liver retains glycogen and does turn it back into sugar, so it actually throws it back into the bloodstream. One of the reasons why our blood sugar rises in the morning even when we're not eating, for people that start to wear constant glucose monitors, sometimes that is like a little shocking to them, that they wake up in the morning, the blood sugar starts to rise and they haven't eaten. So 30-30-30 for we try to get data on patients always. I mean, we're a data-driven organization. I'm a data-driven person. So I believe that once you know what your glycemic profile is, are you working against insulin resistance and hyperglycemia, or are you working with sensitive insulin and possibly hypoglycemia or very good blood sugar, in which case we found that Tim Ferriss's 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking, immediately followed by 30 minutes of steady state cardiovascular exercise, works extraordinarily well. I just did a 30-30-30 challenge with about 53,000 people or so, and about 53,000 people that participated in it, and the comments and the changes that we saw over 6 weeks were pretty dramatic. And then there are those people that are insulin resistant, they're a little more hyperglycemic, and again, I'm trying to fit people into broad categories. We put them on something called a Perfect Amino Acid by Body Health, which was just the 8 essential amino acids prior to workout, and they worked out in a fasted state and had very similar results.
So in this case, were the aminos serving as an anti-catabolic, or was there another effect that you were looking for with that as well?
Well, I think they're anti-catabolic, and once the muscle is damaged, they're first of all, they're anti-catabolic, so we're not burning lean muscle, because we actually you can burn lean muscle during intense exercise once you get through your glycolic reserve, especially if you start in a low glycemic state, and then you in that gluconeogenesis only lasts for a period of time, and now you're tapping your lean muscle almost like an accordion, and you're burning lean muscle during the exercise and then slowly building lean muscle back, and then burning it during exercise and building it back, and burning it and building it back, and not actually tapping our fat reserve, which is, back to the example of the woman that comes into the clinic, and I'm just picking on ladies here for a second, it happens to men too, that say, I am working out very intensely in a fasted state, maybe with just something like black coffee or pre-workout, and I've been doing this pretty consistently over a pretty prolonged period of time, and I'm not losing weight. I'm not losing fat. And what most people mean when they want to lose weight, what they really mean is I want to lose fat.
Yeah.
Which brings you to the danger of things like Ozempic and semaglutide and tirzepatide and some of these the GLP-1 inhibitors. is that people are not just losing fat; they're losing lean body mass in a lot of cases.
Yeah, significantly. That's been definitely they call it what Ozempic face, right? That's
Where it really starts to eat the fat in the cheeks.
It's a real thing. Yeah,
and under the eyes, so the eyes.
I'm so happy I can share with you that this can be translated so you can see for yourself. This two man is very much knowledge about exercise. And this man here, he was 20 years working with 1 month precisely. He can say when he see blood work to a person 25 years old, he can say in 1 month when he wanna die. He working for an insurance company, but he was not allowed to contact people. He know very much about what you can do. He is more knowledge about this system in the body than a doctor. I promise you.
Eyes really get sunken in because you really can't spot remove fat. So
I look the way I look. I'm pretty sunken.